Welcome to episode 48 of Fluffy Fibers, the French podcast in English on sewing, knitting and spinning, all of course with the occasional help of the kitty of the house. My name is Isabelle and you can find me on social media and Ravelry as Fluffy Fibers. You can find the show notes for the podcast on fluffyfibers.com, and the podcast also has a Ravelry group where you can chat about the episodes, participate in the sew-along that we're currently having, or in the giveaway that I'm going to announce at the end of the podcast. I'm so glad to be back with you today, and thank you so much for joining me and choosing to spend some time with me today. Welcome if you're new to the podcast, and to those of you who are returning, thank you so very much for once again bearing with me as I was absent for, I think, almost 2 months, which was completely unplanned, and it's just life happening, you know. But anyway, I'm here today. Today is Saturday, October the 29th. It's a gloriously sunny day. The sky is perfectly blue. You can probably see the sunlight flooding is also from behind my head. I am really sandwiched between two windows here in my little sewing turret. Yeah, it's been an eventful couple of months really, for various reasons. My son was poorly for a while. I have a almost 4 month old son, for those of you who are new to the podcast, and a 4-year-old daughter as well. And so yes, things are busy. I started work when my son turned 3 as well, which is the norm in France. I know a lot of people think that France has a wonderful maternity system, and I'm sure it's better than in other countries, but in Europe it's actually the second to last to worst system. So we typically have 10 weeks after the birth of the baby of maternity leave, and so yeah, but it's okay. At the moment the work I'm involved in is very, very interesting and I love it, so I'm really glad as well to be, thriving in that as well, in that aspect of my life. My son has a wonderful caregiver, nanny. I couldn't have dreamed of anyone better suited for him and for me, and she's extremely supportive of breastfeeding, and we see eye to eye on so many respects, and she's just a wonderful person, so that's absolutely fabulous. I'm very, very grateful for that. But yes, it's made for a very eventful couple of months. The nights are still completely erratic, so I'm very exhausted in this respect. It's just crazy, crazy nights. Yeah, but we won't get into that. But my son is really much better now, much happier especially, so that's great. So today's episode will include my cup of tea, a handmade wardrobe, a bit of sewing and a sew-along, a bit of knitting, and then a giveaway. Very fun giveaway that I'm excited about, that I've been meaning to host for ages. So in my cup of tea today, I am drinking my wonderful organic green Earl Grey from Les Jardins de Gaïa, which I've mentioned time and again. If you're a regular viewer of the podcast, you will know that this is something I often have in my cup of tea, because actually I have at least 1 cup a day of this brew, which I absolutely love. It's just, I love Earl Grey and I love green tea, so this is just the best of 2 worlds really. So yeah, it's wonderfully refreshing, I feel. For a handmade wardrobe today, I am wearing my new make, and it's been really challenging finding some time and energy to sew over the past couple of months, but this is one of my makes, so I will be sharing more about it in the next segment. But it is a perfect nursing top by Megan Nielsen of Megan Nielsen Patterns, and I absolutely love it, so I'll be talking more about it later. And I'm also super excited to be back in my sewing room today. It really feels, filming this podcast today, it really feels like things are back to normal, really. I haven't been filming a podcast in this room for ages because this room is a little turret up a very steep flight of stairs, and I didn't venture there when, in the last 3 months of the pregnancy. So yeah, it's super exciting to be here this afternoon and to be enjoying my lovely little space. So yeah, so for a bit of sewing, I made 3 things over the past couple of months, which is really quite, no, 4 things actually, but it's quite a poor production, but that's life, isn't it? So I made this is my main make, and it took me so long to make this because I really made this in tiny increments. I had to let it sit for a few weeks at a time, but this is the perfect nursing top by Megan Nielsen. It's also called the Amber top. I wanted to make a long-sleeved tunic version for the cold season, and I'm very, very happy with it. The fabric is an absolute delight. It is Lillestoff, the dandelion line, and I absolutely love it. It's an organic German fabric, so I'm very excited in this respect because it means it's very ethical in many respects, and eco-conscious, which is something that I'm very careful about. The title for my podcast used to be, the subtitle used to be Sewing, Knitting, Spinning and Living Green. I've stopped saying this because it's been ages and ages since I last shared a green tip. I used to share green tips at the very beginning when my podcast was on audio format. I used to share a green tip every time I recorded, but I haven't been able to do so, so I decided to drop this line, this tag line really, but I'm still very much concerned about this kind of thing. And so this fabric is designed and made and printed in Germany. It's organic cotton, and it's just excellent quality. It feels very slinky and soft and comfortable, not as stiff as regular cotton jersey. It's very fine as well, very drapey, very, much, I think, thinner and drapier really, more lightweight, I should say. And this is just a gorgeous fabric, and it's the first time it was my first time using a Lillestoff fabric. No, my second time actually. Because my friend Naomi, who is Nimpin on Ravelry on Instagram, was kind enough to send me some whale fabric to make my son a little romper, which I showed on Instagram. And that's precisely because I love this fabric so much, I wanted to get some for myself. So I got this. And I just absolutely love these dandelions and this dark blue background, which is slightly mottled actually. It's not a solid navy, it's a mottled navy. And yeah, it's just, I absolutely love this. It's so comfortable. The one change I did was the sleeves, which were a lot wider, and I really like my sleeves to be narrow, to be very, there isn't any negative ease, but you see there's still some room, but to be pretty narrow, to really follow my arms. I think it's much more flattering really, especially as the bottom of the top is pretty flowy. So yeah, and the other changes I made are really in the construction order, because what I typically do with this kind of top is I will sew all the horizontal seams first, and then I will sew the side seams and sleeve seams all in one go. So I will typically start here and sew all the way to the hem, to the bottom hem. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this design. If you've followed the podcast before, you know how much I love this pattern. It may be my last one though. I think maybe I hit at the moment. I think I got a little bored with this one, but also it might be just because I was so busy and it was so hard to find time to finally finish it, and it languished for so long on my table. But yeah, I am still going to be making nursing-friendly garments for me, obviously, but not this one. So the other two things I made have been sleep sacks, also out of European organic fabric, North European organic fabric. So I made this sleep sack for my son, and I didn't follow a pattern for this. I used a sleep sack that I had in the size 6 months to a year, or to 18 months even, so it's really very long. So I used this as a pattern. I simply, laid on the floor, drew the outline on a paper. But I did use the tutorial from the Sew Mama Sew blog, which I will link to in the show notes, of course, which I've already used to make a couple of newborn-sized sleep sacks for my son in the summer. So I used the same technique of having a very a separable, pretty large zipper at the front, all along the front, really, all down the front. And so the fabric is by Parply Designs, which is a Finnish company, and it's very simple. It's a sky blue background with tiny, very Scandi inspired triangles, black triangles. And this is a sweatshirt knit, and it's the first time I sewed a sweatshirt knit, and I had such a hard time finishing the armholes and especially the neckline, which was very sloppy, so I had to do that. It took me a lot of tries and unpicking and to get it to lay flat in the end. So it's not perfect, and in the end I sewed 3 lines to really make it, to really stabilize it, really. I sewed 3 lines of stitching, but now it lies flat, but it's not perfect. Let's keep it that way. So my only disappointment with this is that because it took me so much time again, by the time I was done, it was too cold to really enjoy, for my son really to wear it, so he hasn't worn it, so I'm keeping it actually as a gift. But the weather here typically will change overnight from really, really hot summer to really cold nights, especially. We have a very wide amplitude in terms of temperatures between night and midday. Typically this morning it was 6 degrees Celsius. It was really quite cold. And now it's 21 degrees Celsius at the moment, whereas my parents, who are in northern France, had 15 degrees Celsius this morning, but they only have 17 degrees Celsius this afternoon. Well, only, which is pretty nice actually for October, but that's typically our weather here. We really have really, really cold nights because there are no clouds, of course, so yeah, and our bedroom is really, really cold. So yes, but that's okay. It means I have a gift ready. So that's nice. And I made another one out of the same fabric for my newest nephew, who was born on Thursday. So that's so exciting, and we're very, very happy. He's very healthy, and my sister, the mother, is also very healthy. She lives in Paris. So we're thrilled about that, and we really needed this kind of good news at the moment. And so she'd asked me to make him a sleep sack because she loved the ones I made for my son in the summer. And so I made it in the same fabric, organic cotton jersey sweatshirt knit, but by Power P Designs. I used a light grey zipper for a change. I thought it was a nice touch, a nice contrast. And because I wanted this to be warm, I used some extra fine fleece fabric that I had in my stash from when I made diapers for my daughter, so 4 years ago. And I had this extra fine, super soft fleece, which is just lovely, super soft, super cozy and snuggly. And yeah, so that made for, so I lined it really with it, so it's super cozy. So I was actually very eager to podcast today because I'm going to send it out on Monday to them. I just laundered it for them. So I used the same tutorial, actually used the actual pattern in the Sew Mama Sew tutorial this time, because it's such a great size for newborns up to 3 months. So yeah, I'm very happy about this. Again, it's not completely perfect because I really have a hard time with this sweatshirt knit, but I think it will keep him warm and it will make the parents happy. So that's all the makes I can show you. I also made some mug coasters for my dear friend Julie for her birthday, out of a mini charm pack by Moda, which was Simply Colourful too, which has gorgeous jewel colours, very graphic. And so I made 3 coasters, lightly quilted. I will share a picture. And that was a very zen project to make. It really was lovely to make that for her. I started making one with much tinier squares, and it didn't turn out as nice, I think, as the other 3 with larger squares, so I kept it, and actually I gave it to Seb to put on his desk at home, and he loves it, so that's great. But I completely forgot to take it up because it's been such a long time since I made that, and it's free. This one is free motion quilted. The other ones are simply have diagonal lines of quilting. Yeah, so that's it for all my sewing, but I'm just bursting at the seams. I wasn't intending that pun at all, but there it goes. Yeah, I'm bursting at the seams to be making more things, sewing more things. I ordered some fabric, I think actually 2 months ago, about thinking I would be able to make so many things, and there's a little bit for everyone really. And it's all organic European fabric, which I'm really excited about. So there's some Power P Design dinosaurs for my son, and possibly maybe even my daughter. She loves dinosaurs. And I have this contrast ribbing. So I'm thinking of making either little pants, little trousers, or even a romper. But at the moment I'm very hesitant to start making this because my son grows so fast. I mean, I can't remember if I mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast, but one of the reasons for his troubles, the fact that he was so poorly when he hit between 2 months and 3 months really, is that he's been growing just too fast. And I'm small, Seb is not a tall man. I'm just over 5 feet tall, so 154 centimeters. And he currently wears 9-month clothes, and he is not quite 4 months old. He's just not... so his trouble is he's just having a hard time adjusting to his body, which is growing too fast. So I'm a bit hesitant to be making this for him because it's been really frustrating to see how fast he's been growing out of the things I've been making for him. So I don't know, we'll see. or the good thing with ribbing is you can add a good length of it and fold it over. We'll see. So that's one lovely bunch of fabrics. And then I got this for my daughter, which I absolutely adore. So it's Foxes, also by Parpy Designs. Foxes, she picked this actually on the website. And I have this for, so I want to make her a raglan dress out of this and use this for the sleeves, I think. And, you know, a dress that, or tunic that you can wear over a warm t-shirt and leggings, really. We'll see. And then I got, this is an order I placed at the same time as this fabric actually. And for me, I also got this gorgeous Lillestoff fabric. So this gorgeous German organic cotton knit. And it's just this beautiful aubergine purple that I love so much. I can't wait, and I want to make a wrap dress out of this, because wrap dress is actually chic, but also very nursing friendly. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make just a typical wrap dress, or to make the Cosmopolitan dress by Hot Patterns, which I've made in the past, which I really, really love. And has a crossover bodice. It's not it's a faux wrap dress, but it does have a crossover bodice, so that would work for nursing as well. So I'm not quite sure yet, but I'm so excited about this gorgeous fabric. I just absolutely love it, and I know once I'm done with making this, I can see myself wearing this with boots and a cardigan all winter long. So that's quite exciting. So to close on the sewing segment, I wanted to mention the sew-along that we're having at the moment in the group. We are having high tea sew-along, so you will find all the details in the group. This is a sew-along I'm hosting with a quilt-along and sew-along that I'm hosting with my friends Shauna of the Adelaide Cottage podcast and Sarah of the Love Sock Wall podcast. So this was inspired by a line of fabrics which is called High Tea by Jerry Brandvik, and it's really very shabby chic inspired. And so the idea in my group is to make either a quilt if you want to, or just small items with this shabby chic theme, or to make like tea, a mug rug or mug coasters. So I still haven't been able to tackle my part of this, but I'm still very excited to be making things. So you don't have to use the fabric line. You can, of course. I have a few. I have some fabric from the line which I love, and I can't wait to cut into. But you can absolutely choose anything that is, that to you either is tea inspired or has the same kind of vibe as the High Tea line. And we do have a skein of yarn by Owl About Yarn for this as a prize. So please do go on the Ravelry group, and you can see a picture of this beautiful yarn. I showed this in the previous episode. So yes, that's it for sewing. Now for a bit of knitting. First of all, when I edited the podcast last time, finished editing it, I realised I had lost some footage where I was showing a knitting project that I finished last time. So this actually, the only thing I did was to sew on buttons, but this actually was finished, last August really. And this is a little cardigan that I made for friends, for the baby of friends who were kind enough to, so it's very, very funny actually, because they have a son who was at the same caregiver as my daughter. So they were so they've known each other since they were 6 months old, basically, and now they're in the same school, and they're really very good friends, and we are very good friends with the parents as well. And they had a baby girl a month before we had our son, so that's just so funny, really. And they were kind enough to have our daughter over for a couple of nights when our baby was born, because there were complications and we were completely thrown off schedule when my son was born for various reasons. And so it was super helpful to us that our daughter was slept over at their place. So to thank them, and really also to welcome this new baby, I made this, which is the Helena cardigan, which is a free pattern on knitted.com. And so actually that was my first cast on when my baby was born. I cast this on at the hospital when my baby was 1 or 2 days old, and I used drops merino, baby merino, because I want this to be easily washable. So yeah, I knit the 1 year size because they are both really tall, and their daughter is really tall as a result as well. Their son is super tall, and so I knew it would be a safe bet to be knitting, a bigger size, and I'm glad I did. So I really want to give this to them soon so that she can enjoy it. And yeah, I used some very, very simple buttons that really match quite well. And this is, I think it's the lavender shade by Drops. So yeah, that is something I made over the summer, really. So I also knit, or finished, because I had started this last time. I finished the Amulet Shawl from the Shawl Society by Helen Stewart. So this is the second shawl in the Shawl Society. But as you can see, it's not blocked and the ends are not woven in, which is quite a shame because I think I finished this about a month ago, I think. But I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm not in a hurry to block it, really, because I want this to keep this as a gift, as a Christmas gift, probably for my older sister, whom I adore, and we've been talking so much, really. We always talk a lot, but since my father, so for those of you who are new to the podcast, my father was diagnosed with pancreatic, very aggressive form of pancreatic cancer, exactly a month before my son was born, so in June. And it's been obviously a very difficult time for all of us, and what has saved us, really, is the very close bond that we have, especially my 2 sisters and I. Yeah, we've been talking, texting, so every single day, 10 times a day, really. We're very, very close, and this has drawn us even closer together. And my older sister is very appreciative of my knitting. I know she really takes very good care of my knits. She loves them, and this is very much her colours. So yeah, I'm very happy that I'm done. I want to block this and prepare it for Christmas, really. And so the yarns that I use are Little Yellow Yoke yarns. I may have the tag here somewhere. Yes, there you go. So Little Yellow Yoke Crafts on Etsy, and this is yarn that was dyed by Zena, who has a podcast which I absolutely love, a weekly podcast that comes out on Sundays, and I always look forward to her episodes. And so this ball is I'm Yours, and it was inspired by her wedding colours, and it's really bare yarn with just specks of speckles of blue, turquoise blue and pink, and this one is Blue Hawaii. And this is her shawl base, which explains why I have so much left over, because this used to be a 500-meter skein. And this is her sock base, one of her sock base. Soprano sock, which is 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. And so I very much like the effect that this had on the shawl. Yeah, so this was a very enjoyable knit, as are all of Helen's Curious Handmaids patterns, I find. I just love her patterns. They're just so, they're very effective but easy and very relaxing, I find. So yeah, hopefully next time I podcast this will be blocked and I can show it to you properly in all its lacy glory. Yeah, so another thing I've been knitting on, and that I'd already started last time, because I actually started this a few days before my son was born, to have a mindless project for the hospital, and they're still not done, but that's okay. They're my, you know, on-the-go knitting. I always have this in my bag when I'm around, out and about, and these are my socks out of Bergère de France, Gloomy 50, and yes, the tag here is really, you can see these have travelled. But yeah, I'm almost done with the first sock. As you can see, I should have brought my sock blockies. As you can see, I'm almost done. Actually, I stopped because I'm at the point where I need to add the contrast shade for the toe. And the contrast shade is Chèvre, which is goat, which means goat, also by Bergère de France. And this, of course, is the imprimé beige, so the beige print colorway, which is very popular at the moment. And I really, really like how this knit up. And because I really enjoyed the yarn, I made an extra long cuff. I don't usually make cuffs that are that long for me, because again, I'm pretty short, but I really enjoyed seeing the shades, and so yeah, I decided to just keep on knitting. I made my favourite heel. Typically my favourite heels are heel turns and flaps and gussets, and this flap is my favourite. It's the Eye of Partridge. It's the modified Eye of Partridge that you can find in Hermione's Everyday Sock. In the Hermione's Everyday Socks pattern. So yeah, so I'm almost done with this one, and this is a very nice, it's very enjoyable. I think this is going to be pretty comfortable to wear, very cushy. And I just want to knit socks at the moment because it's chilly, and I absolutely love wearing my hand knit short socks at home. And I think my favourite shade in the whole socks is this one, this tan shade. Yeah, so I'm very excited to be finished with these and to start wearing them. And this is where I am with the second one. This is my lovely DPN Cozy by Danny at Little Bobbins Knits, and I'm just at the heel turn for the next one. Well, actually that was the first one I started, but yeah. So yeah, and I'm using my Knit Pro Zings for this pair and my Knit Pro Carbons for the other pair. And I find I knit faster with the Zings because they're very slick, but also I can tend to drop stitches more easily. Like, stitches tend to slip off the needles more easily than with the Carbons, so I really like them both. really. And I typically knit my socks on 2.5mm needles, which are a size, I think it's 1.5. I think so, US. And my current project is the Breathing Space sweater by Vera Vanimeki, and this is out of the Interpretations 3 volume that came out at the end of last winter, and that I was able to pick up at Loop with Danny in late February or early March last year. Well, this year really, and so it's extra special for this reason. And so I'm sure you all know the Breathing Space, it's very famous, and on the Rhinebeck footage or pictures on Instagram, it seems every other person was wearing one. But yeah, it's beautiful top-down raglan sweater with this asymmetrical construction. Except I've decided not to do this asymmetrical construction, but simply to knit the straight sweater. Because after all, I think I would prefer the look of a more simple sweater. I think it might be more flattering. I feel it's really a very tricky sweater to wear because of the line at which the angle starts. I think it might not always be very flattering. So I'm going safe and just knitting straight. And so this has been my evening knitting at the moment, and I am using my project bag that I made out of French fabric, and I am using the Uncommon Thread Everyday Sock, I think, which is BFL. No, it's Tough Sock, sorry. The Uncommon Thread Tough Sock, which is BFL and nylon, 80% 80-20 BFL and nylon, and this is Into Dust, which is a beautiful dusky rose, which I absolutely love. And this again is very special because this is the yarn I got with Danny at Loop at the same time as the book. And the main colour is this beautiful wine, or aubergine again. And this is Dreaming Colour, yes, I have the tag. Dreaming Colour Smooshy Suck Weight in Velvet Port. So yeah, and it's very squishy indeed. It's a little bit thicker than this one, but I don't think it's a real problem as I'm knitting. But I really like the two colours together. So yeah, I have 2 balls of this one. Well, 2 skeins. I haven't balled up the second skein yet, I don't think. So yeah, this is really very soothing, very fun, since you're doing stripes. I'm using, as I typically do, I'm using my Taigu needles, and this is size 5 needles, 3.75 centimeters. You're supposed to use I think 3.5mm needle, so size 4, and my gauge was right with the 3.5mm needles, but I like the drape better. And in fact, because this is a pretty wide jumper, I think I really wanted something very drapey and loose fitting, so this is going to fit me a bit more loosely. I want something really drapey that I can wear over leggings possibly, or skinny jeans, and so I realised I would achieve a better result with slightly larger needles, and I think it's going to be more flattering this way, really, more wearable. So yeah, that's my main project at the moment. As you know, if you're new to the podcast, you will realise I don't have many projects on the go. I typically have 2, one for my you know, my purse and one for home, and so a major project for home. And I don't typically have many projects on the go because I just don't work that way. It just doesn't work for me that way. I like to see progress on my knits, really, and so typically I have 1 or 2 projects on top of my sock knitting. But all that being said, I cast on for another project yesterday evening, and that is that's living in my Holland Handmade Co. bag, which I purchased on the Holland Handmade Co. Etsy shop, and that was made by my dear friend Erin, who is Mama to Abigail on Instagram and Ravelry. And I am making a cardigan. I started making a cardigan for my daughter out of this Aran weight singles yarn, which she picked herself. We went to the yarn shop to pick this together, and this is some Katia yarn, which is a Spanish brand of yarn, Katia Azteca. And it's not as, you know, it's not typically the yarn I buy anymore often, but I wanted something that was more easy to take care of, really, for my daughter. So it is a singles yarn, and I hope it won't pill too much. But on the upside, and that's why I decided to get it, it's super warm because you have a lot of air in it. And my daughter really was very much set on these blues. My daughter loves blue. So you have this, you know, these various shades of blue in it. It's really lovely, and it's really knitting up lovely as well. The swatch I did was just, when I washed it, it just bloomed, and it was just so lovely and smooth and squishy and warm. And I think she'd be really warm with this cardigan. So, as I told you, I started yesterday evening, so I'm not very far on. I'm using, oh dear, I forgot to write it down. I'll put it in the screen somewhere. But I'm using a free pattern on Ravelry, and I'm just incorporating a little bit of a detail at the button bands. So along each button band I'm doing a baby rib, a baby cable rib, I think you say, which is just 2 twisted stitches, and I'm knitting you know, over a pale background on each side, really. And so you can see the yarn is actually striping into various blues. So yeah, I hope I can make this pretty fast. It's Aran weight yarn, and I'm knitting this on 5mm needles. Again, my Chigos, because these are my, you know, when I don't mention what needles I use, you can safely assume it's Chigo needles, because these are really my go-to needles. And so yeah, size 8, US 8. So it's going pretty fast, really. Yeah, I'm knitting this actually at a pretty tight gauge because I want to prevent as much pilling as possible. So yeah, I hope she'll be excited. She's at her grandparents at the moment, my in-laws in Paris for the a bit of the holidays, and I miss her. And I thought she'd be excited to see I'd started this for her. So yeah, that is it for my knitting. And now I wanted to talk about a fun giveaway that I'm starting, which I'm calling the Gratitude Giveaway. And that really is a way to thank you for your wonderful support over the past few months and even years, really, but especially since I started expecting my son, and the way in which you rejoiced for me when I was expecting him and when he was born, but also the way you all supported, and you all are still supporting me with my dad being so poorly. And last week, well, at the beginning of this week actually, I mentioned on Instagram that we were supposed to be at my parents' this week, and in the end it wasn't possible because my father caught a cold, but colds for him, because he's so weak and so weakened by the chemo but also by the cancer, are just very dangerous. And so, we had a cold as well, but we got better, but he was still too poorly to have us over, so we had to cancel our trip. And I live over 1,000 kilometers away from my parents, which is no choice of mine. It's just the way our jobs worked out, and there's really nothing we can do about that, especially Seb. So I would gladly change jobs and have a less exciting job just to be back, you know, next to my parents, near my parents, but that's just impossible for Seb. And yeah, I mean, that's really difficult. This distance is really difficult, and so it's not often we go and see them. And so I'd been so looking forward to seeing them, and so it's been really tough. But you've all been so supportive of all this, and I received so many messages, and I feel so much that so many of you are really very loving about all this, and I just wanted to let you know how much it means to me and how much it really has been helping. So I wanted to do a giveaway with some lovely yarn, of course, and the first skein that I'm going to give away is a skein by lovely Regina, who is Herbstblatt Regina, and she sent this to me when I placed an order, when she had just opened her shop, and she sent this to me as a gift. And this is called Smoky Lilacs. It's beautiful sock yarn, so 75-25 virgin wool and nylon. And she sent this to me as a gift, and she said I could do whatever I wanted on, you know, keep it or have a giveaway. And I've decided to have a giveaway for this, for you. And on top of this, Little French Meadow, who half of whom is my friend Yola, who is Lola Jojo on Instagram and Ravelry, they offered as well a prize for the podcast, and it's going to be the winner's choice of yarn, of a skein of yarn in their shop, and they have beautiful colourways. I knit a shawl out of their Ants Spoiling the Picnic, which is just a wonderful colourway, which is a very light blue base with black and very dark blue speckles on it, and it's just gorgeous. So thank you so much, ladies, for these beautiful giveaways. So I will of course include a link to their shop so that you can have a look at their shop as well. And I also have a gift that was made very kindly by my friend Karine, who is Mom Glou Glou, and she is a friend in Montpellier, a knitting friend here. And she made this for the podcast. Can you see? Made with love by Mom Glou Glou. She's on Instagram as Mom Glou Glou as well, and she's a wonderful knitter and spinner. And so she made these beautiful stitch markers out, I think it's Murano glass. They're absolutely gorgeous, really stunning. I'm going to take one out so they can see. I'll redo the package because otherwise you're not going to be able to see how beautiful these are. So there you go. It's really stunning, stunning stitch markers. These are really gorgeous. So there are 4 in there. And so thank you, Karine, for this beautiful gift for the podcast. And so, and I think I'm also going to include, I would have liked to make a project bag for this, but it's really not reasonable for me at the moment to be promising that, and it's going to be too stressful for me, really. But I will offer a pattern prize for the winner. So I think I'm going to do 2 prizes. One with this, I think these 2, because they really go well together. So these 2 together, and another prize with the skein by Little French Meadow. And Little French Meadow were thoughtful enough to say they would actually send it directly to the winner, which is very appreciated, because it means you know, there's just one shipping. They're not going to ship it to me, and then I'm not going to have to pay for shipping myself, which is really appreciated, because shipping abroad in France for any item over 3 centimeters high is very, very expensive. So yeah, that's just wonderful. So thank you very much for that. So yes, so first prize is going to be this, and the second prize is going to be the winner's choice of a skein of yarn from the Little French Meadow shop, and a pattern of the winner's choice as well on Ravelry that I will gift to you. So I do hope you will enjoy this. I will open a thread in the Ravelry. I may leave a prompt over there, I don't know, we'll see. But just keep your eyes peeled on the Ravelry group for this giveaway. But that is all for today. I did want to mention that I'm hoping to record extra videos, not episodes really, not podcast episodes, but extra videos. I wanted to do one on sewing with knits, because that's something that I get asked a lot about, all my tips and tricks for sewing with knits. I wanted to do this in this podcast, but then I realised the podcast would last way too long. And anyway, I think you might like to have this isolated in a separate video, really. So, and I also want to do the seamstress tag that has been going around, and perhaps also a knitting tag that has been going around around the French podcasts, and I might translate this so that we can have fun as well in the English knitting podcast world, so to speak. So yes, so I just wanted to tell you thank you so much for watching today. I do hope that you are all doing really well, and that autumn or spring has been nice wherever you are, and thank you so much for being patient as I took so long to record again. Thank you for your consent and your love. And I really wish you lots of happy making until we chat next time. So, bye!